for all the latest community news and events.
103.2 Preston FM.
Your community, your radio.
And also very nice to have Ian Wright in the studio, our vet, Chat City vet. So Ian, a very good morning.
A very good morning to you.
Do you know, I don't know if Diana Ross and that kind of music was a little too young for you, but whenever I hear it, I always want to dance.
It is.
Shall we pretend?
Yeah, Diana Ross, who's that?
I don't know what it is though about Diana Ross. Whenever I hear the music like that, and the intriguing thing is that at one time she was the world's top selling singer. She was never off TV, CD, and then disappears.
Yeah, I don't know where she went. I don't know. But,
no, somebody told me she's working on the docks in McDonald's, but I can't see that being true.
Isn't Elvis there?
Yes, he's working with her, I believe. Anyway, Ian, a very good morning. Now, we need to also mention that you're from Withy Grove Veterinary Practice.
Surgery. Withy Grove Veterinary Surgery, and at the Mount Veterinary Practice.
Yes, I get the practice.
You get those two the wrong way around.
That's right. And you did hear as you were driving in, but you've no tips how to get the animals off the railway line then in the Lake District.
I took an oath, Huey, not to treat any animal I couldn't rugby tackle, so I'm afraid I can't help you, unless they're hedgehogs, in which case I'll leap into action, I'll herd them all off.
Oh dear. So the fact that I'd contacted Virgin Railways and said you were going to be in the studio and you could help get the animals off the line.
If they load me a dart gun, I'll have a go. As long as I don't have to go within 20 feet of them. Right, okay.
Lovely. Anyway, nice to meet you again. And since we last met, you've been over in Dubai.
That's right. Yeah, we chatted, didn't we? What an amazing line it was.
It was
perfect,
incredible, wasn't it?
Yeah. So.
And I mean, I was fascinated by the subject. I know I joked about some people going scuba diving and some people lying on beaches in the Seychelles, and you go off to talk about parasites. But I was absolutely fascinated by the fact that it was a worldwide conference and it was actually looking at the issues to do with the threat, I would take it, from parasites.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, that's it. They picked Dubai because it's in the middle. I mean, we had people from sort of right across Asia and Australia that were coming, and then from the States. So it was sort of picked as a central location. The fact that it's very hot and sunny and, lovely, had nothing to do with it.
No,
it was nice in the middle for everyone. But yeah, I mean, many of these parasites cross borders. They affect many different countries. And of course, more and more of us with our pets are travelling. So, we're coming into contact with more and more of these parasites. So it's good. It's good for researchers and vets from around the world. We can compare notes and, we can see what the current thinking is.
And this probably sounds a very naive question, but do we actually find or do we actually recreate new parasites?
Well, it's more that we find them. It's absolutely amazing that there are new ones emerging all the time. They were talking about a new cat lungworm that they've just discovered.
Lung.
A lungworm, yeah. There's a lungworm in this country that affects cats called Allura strongylus. Unfortunately, it's not very pathogenic. It's not as nasty as the dog lungworm that we've talked about in the past. But they found this new one is coming across in the Mediterranean from wild cats. And it's really quite nasty. If it gets into the lungs of cats, it does them a lot of damage. But if you're a parasitologist, it's fascinating because we don't know whether it was always there in domestic cats and it just wasn't recognised, or whether it has actually come across from the wild cats and it's new, so you're trying to establish those things. I mean, there's another good example is a parasite called Neospora that affects dogs and cows. And I mean, that was discovered in 1988. Now, it was almost certainly there long before that, but just no one realised it was there. I mean, once you find it, you find out it's involved in cow abortion, neurological disease in dogs. None of this was known before 1988. So, there's new things popping up all the time.
Right. And I know I asked when we were talking, but Is there then kind of research and outcomes from the conference that then feeds back into governments around the world to look at how they will deal with them?
Yeah, well, like I said on the radio before, we try, we talk to governments and, we hope they listen. I mean, a good example in this country at the moment is the badgercles.
Yes, which I was going to ask about that.
Yeah, which, I mean, there are people on either side of the fence. I mean, what vets have desperately tried to do is just infiltrate influence the government into putting forward good science, and the jury's out on whether this current round of culling is good science or not. We'll get the report from that shortly, but that's really how we try to influence the government. It isn't for or against badger culling, but if you're going to kill that many badgers, let's make it worthwhile. Let's get some good data and see if it's a practical way forward.
And in fact, the badger cull was actually pulled yesterday.
It doesn't. I'm not going to pass judgment, as I hope many people won't, until we get the report. But my gut feeling is it doesn't seem to have gone very well. And like I said before, with the Krebs report, I mean, they said if it was done very efficiently, you could get a 16% reduction in TB transmission. Now, if you can do it very efficiently, that may be worth doing. There are arguments for and against that, but I mean, it doesn't look like initially it's been done very well. Whether that was due to human error or circumstances beyond our control, we'll find out. But there do appear to have been some well-reported problems.
So was there anything from the conference that you came on with that you'd been surprised by, or things that you was new for the first time?
Absolutely. I mean, Giardia, which is a very common parasite here, apparently resistance is starting to develop in. So, Giardia, lots of cats and dogs carry, and although people can get it, we very rarely get it from cats and dogs. We tend to get it from other people, especially if we go abroad. I was doing a lot of hand washing and, sort of approaching local food with caution. But, in this country, I mean, sometimes we bring it back, sometimes it comes from the water supply. But in cats and dogs, lots of cats and dogs carry it without having clinical signs, but the temptation is that if you find it, you want to treat it and try and get rid of it. So that is starting to lead to resistance developing. So they were saying the emphasis now is much more on treating it when it's causing a problem, rather than just automatically treating it, and just treating it until the problem goes away, rather than trying to eliminate it completely. So, I mean, that is a relatively new way of thinking about it. I mean, when I was taught parasitology, it was like, kill it, keep attacking it until it's gone, but that way of thinking seems to have been abandoned for Giardia, so I'll be on my best behaviour.
Okay, well, fascinating stuff, Ian. Right, we've got some listener questions, and the first one, now, can I ask the vet, is it okay? Can you wash this is from Phyllis, can you wash your dog too much? In example, will it wash the natural oils out of its hair? And also, can you overbrush your dog? And is it a good thing to cut its hair right back, or is its hair a good protection in winter and summer?
Oh gosh, good questions there. Wow. Okay, well let's take them one at a time. The short answer to, do you wash all the oils out is yes, you do. Especially if you're using a shampoo. That's the thing, people love to use dog shampoos.
Yes.
But that does strip a lot of the oils out of the coat. Now, there are, just like people, some dogs have dry, flaky coats. Some dogs have very greasy coats, and they do need shampooing for those reasons. And some dogs just get filthy. They're in ditches all the time. And I mean, my friend keeps bearded collies, and how he manages, I don't know. They come home every day and they're just covered in mud, and then he shampoos them, and if he doesn't dry them properly, they go a bit mouldy. Yes. So then he has to sort of shampoo them again, and on it goes. So there are some dogs that for various reasons do need regular bathing with a shampoo. And I mean, if you need that, that's fine. But just like us, if you have a very good coat anyway, I mean, if your coat is clean and it's free of grease and dandruff, don't use a shampoo. You don't need to use a shampoo. You can just use water, or you could not bath at all. I mean, I have to be honest, my last dog, he'd probably bathed 3 times in his whole life. Yes. He was blessed with a very good coat. He was quite clean living, so very little shampooing went on. But yes, I mean, please shampoo your dog if he needs it, but not excessively, because it is going to wash those oils out. The other thing to bear in mind is that flea treatments, some of them, such as fipronil frontline, which means a very good flea treatment, but it sits in the coat. So, and same's true of Advantage, imidacloprid flea treatments like Advantage and Advocate. Again, very good flea treatments, but they sit in the coat in what we call the sebum layer, the oily layer. So if you're using a shampoo, they're not the best choice. You know, it's not that they're a bad choice, but you're going to wash them out with that shampoo if you shampoo your dogs a lot. So, you know, get advice from your vet as to which flea treatment you should be using.
Right. And the other one is, can you overbrush a dog?
Well, as long as you're careful, then no. I mean, dogs naturally molt, and I mean, crikey, they shed hair all over. It's like your carpet's got a second layer if you've got a good molty, constantly hoovering. But brushing does their coat a lot of good. You want to get that dead hair out. I mean, if you're using a stiff brush and you're doing it a lot, you've got the risk of irritating the skin. But I think, you know, so as I'm using a soft brush or even rubber gloves, the friction lifts the hair out very well. It's very hard to do it too often, really. It's good to get all that sort of dead old hair out. It lets, you know, the new coat come through then.
Grown. Well, there you are. Thank you. And Marie asks, I have an older cat that doesn't have a lot of energy anymore. I know the feeling, Marie. In fact, is there anything to perk the cat up, and maybe me, Ian? Anyway, no, let's stay with the cat.
Yeah, that's like, if anyone has any advice for humans, please tell me. I have a bit of trouble getting out of bed in the morning. But the thing is, yeah, I mean, cats, just like the rest of us, get old. That's the thing. And I mean, they do slow down as they get old, but there will be a reason. That the temptation is to look at your cat and say, well, he's just getting old. He's just slowing down because he's getting old. But lots of elderly cat diseases that can slow them down, which if they're identified early, we can treat, we can help. And I think hopefully next month we'll have Ros back in from Vet Plus. They do lots of non-prescription products to help geriatric animals. But in general, things like arthritis, kidney disease, liver disease, even very treatable diseases like diabetes, in their early stages will present as your cat being a bit quieter, you know, than normal. So, you know, so much easier to treat if we can identify them early. So I know the temptation is to think, oh, well, you know, I'll just pop down to, you know, my local pet shop, see if I can get a multivitamin pick me up. And it's not that there's any harm in those, but I think, you know, it's better to go to your vets and just get, lots of vets offer discounted geriatric pet, sometimes even free geriatric pet checkups. So if you can pop them down, we can have a look at them. And I know people worry that, you know, vets are going to pick things up and then it's going to cost them money. But really, some of these things we see when it's too late, you know, when it's too late to do anything about them. So much better to catch them early.
And you did just mention the vitamins, and interestingly enough, we had a tweet that was from Angela saying, how do I know, I don't know what the pet is, how do I know if my pet needs a vitamin supplement?
In general, it does depend on the pet, but let's assume it's a cat or a dog. In general, unless there's a specific health problem, you don't need to supplement, because everything they need is in a diet, is in a complete diet. So if you're feeding a correct life stage, complete cat or dog food, it's going to have everything in that they need. The exception to that is some people like homemade diets or raw meaty bone diets, or, you know, they like to move away from dog or cat food and do it themselves. Now, I mean, this is achievable, but it's very, very tricky just to get the balance of ingredients right. And I mean, there are good websites to help you to do that, but sometimes, you know, the use of a multivitamin in that situation, you know, is justified. Might not be a bad idea, but it depends how well you're doing it. But in general, if you're on a good quality cat, dog food, no other health issues, you don't really need to supplement. You know, it's not too much of a worry.
Right. Well, thanks for that, Ian. And you mentioned hopefully then in January we shall have Roz and also Alan, the pet behaviourist, back with us, so we can take some questions in January. And also maybe in January, I mean, we've all seen the stickers in cars, a dog is for life, not just for Christmas.
Yeah.
I've always had pets. I must admit nobody's ever bought me